Good morning, Vesta. How are you? How's everything in your little corner of the world? Hello, everybody. Thank you for jumping on this morning to spend some time with me for another Mystery Quilt Card Thursday. My name is Julie Heights. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Toledo, Ohio. I love quilts, and I love birds. So hence the name, the Chirpy Card Maker of Quilts. So thank you for being here. Wow, so many people are jumping on. That is great. So how was everybody's weekend? Last weekend was our card play online retreat with Karen, Titus, Holly, Barb, and Julie. I hope that you enjoyed it if you took part in it. We look forward to doing these online retreats 3 times a year with every new catalog that comes out. And winter retreat will be February 7th and 8th, or 8th and 9th. I already forgot. But anyway, it's coming in February. Registration will open up in January, so there will be details coming on that. We don't know what's in the catalog yet, so I really can't tell you too much other than I really think that you, I would encourage you to take part just once and see what you think. They're really a lot of fun. There's a lot of creativity. I think you would really like it. So stay tuned for more details on that. I am going to flip the camera around, and as I do that, please say good morning to each other, and we'll get started on today's project. Oh, okay, I gotta find my widgets. There we go. Try not to get anybody seasick by moving the camera too fast. Let's put it down here and flip some things around. And I want to, see if I can't zoom in here. There we go. You don't need to see my whole messy desk. Although it's much neater than it was last night, or what it looked like after card play. So we're going to work with a stamp set called Caring Leaves. It's in the mini catalog. A very simple stamp set, but one of my favorite sayings and one of my favorite songs from Tina Turner is "You're Simply the Best." And so when I saw that sentiment, I knew I was going to get the stamp set. And we're going to be using some paper that comes from actually the scrapbooking side of the online store. And the patterned paper is called Sweet Days of Autumn. And then there's a coordinating pack of cardstock called Autumn to Remember. And it's actually two-toned. So you will get, it's a white core, but one side will be darker than the other. Can you see the two-toned? It's not as heavy as our cardstock. It's a little bit heavier than the Designer Series paper. So it falls in between Stampin' Up's cardstock and Designer Series paper. Personally, I don't know if I would use it as a card base, but I think it's really nice for layers to give your card just a little extra weight. So who's all in the house? Good morning, Sheila, Kathy, Karen, Shirley, Valerie, Linda, Julia, Sharon, Pam, wow, Diane, and Sandy, Linda, Janice, Another Linda and Louise. Oh my goodness. Thank you everybody for being here. I hope you're enjoying making cards using quilt patterns. There is just a never ending there's never ending choices for quilt blocks. Quilt blocks, a traditional quilt block can have so many different variations. So there's always a quilt block to be made. We'll never make them all, but we can try. Okay. Hi, Marilyn. Hi, Susan. Hey, Doris. Hi, Robin. Hey, Judy and Helene. Okay, so before we get started, I want to show you a couple of things that I have in my little, what I call a toolbox. Let's move this out of the way for just a second. I want to show you a couple of tools. One is right out of my quilt supplies, and I'm going to show you how it can help you line things up in your card making. But the first thing I want to show you are these OmniGrid rulers. I believe I've seen a Tim Holtz ruler out there that has a lot of lines to it. The bigger OmniGrids, there's actually like yellow lines that are like 45-degree angles, if you know, that we use in quilting. But if you, this one I wouldn't go any bigger than these to pull out in your card making. I mean, I've got OmniGrid rulers that are as big as the glass mat, but you don't need anything that big. If you've got the little 1x6 ruler, this is going to come in so handy, because on all sides, whether it's vertical or horizontal, you've got lines at 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, 3/8, 1/2, 5/8, 3/4, 7/8, and then your other side would be your full number. And these lines can help you line up projects on your quilt cards. And we're going to use this today. So this little ruler, pulled from my quilting tools, and in fact I've got several of these because I always want one within reach when I'm you know, I've got like a rolling cart with my sewing machine in it, and there's tools, and I never want to be without. So I have got one tucked in almost every like bag or box of quilting stuff, that if I'm going to grab it and go and do something, maybe a little get together with friends and sewing, I want to make sure that I have this ruler. So there's that. And then there's this little thing. Now, back when I had braces, a couple years ago, I had braces for several years. I had these little brushes that helped, you know, keep things out of your braces. And this has got a really fine little brush tip on it. But what I want to show you, what it's good for, is cleaning the track of your trimmer. Believe it or not, you get so much paper pulp built up in your track. And this little brush fits right down in there. It kind of bends, but you can run it right. Look at some of the pulp popping out of my trimmer. Oh my goodness, let me show you this. This is kind of embarrassing. But look at all that paper pulp that I just got out of my track. And this little brush does it. So next time you're at the store and you're in the, you know, where they sell toothpaste and different things for oral health, get some of these little tiny brushes, because they work wonders in your craft room. So I've been wanting to show you guys this stuff for a while, and I always forget. So while I was thinking of it, I just wanted to show you those two tools that I keep close by. Vesta says she's got some of those brushes. Hey, Betty. Hey, Linda. And Linda says that Club Scrap has a 2x8 clear ruler. So, I mean, you can pick these up. But if you're a quilter or you do any sewing, you may already have one of these rulers in your other toolbox for whatever craft that you're doing. So I want to bring that out and show you how I am going to use it. So I'm going to bring back in what we're using today. And this piece underneath me is just to get the glare from my lights that's reflecting off the glass mat. So we've got a card base that's 5.5 by 8.5. And you can go ahead and score that at 4.25. This is just going to be a standard card base, nothing fancy. We are going to let the quilt pattern and how we put the card front together do the work for us, okay? So there's that. Let's just go ahead and line this up, make sure that I've got a nice square card base and that I'm not shorter on one side than the other. So there's our card base. And then we've got two pieces of a coordinating color of cardstock. And all my colors are pulled from the paper, the designer series paper that I chose to work with. So that's where all my colors are coming from, and that's where your colors are going to come from. Pam says those brushes I use to clean my fine tip on your glue. I will have to remember that. Linda says, how about your pointy thing, the source? Linda, are you talking about my beaded pokey tool? If so, this is a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Michigan who makes these. Kim Crane is her name. I thought maybe I do. This is her business card. Oh, excuse me. Oh. Sorry, I could not hold that one in, that sneeze in. So her name is Kim Crane. This is her information, if this is what you're talking about. And you can screenshot that. Just, reach out to her and see if she's still making these. I've got different ones from her. I love supporting our crafty friends. I'm sure you can go online and get them too, Etsy or whatever. But give Kim a shout out. She does a really good job. And thank you, Kathy and Vesta. Okay, so one of these I embossed because this is going to be a background layer for our quilt block and the other pieces of designer series paper. This plain one is going to go on the inside. Now I've got a 3/4 inch by 5.25. This is going to be an accent strip that we're just going to put down to either side of that insert. And I'm going to do a little bit of stamping because I really can't mess this one up. It just seems really awkward to stamp away from myself I'm a stamper that it has to be right down in front of me, and I know that I've got to keep things with, you know, so that you can see them. So I'm going to bring in some Cajun Craze, and I'm going to use that You're Simply the Best. I'll tell you, that song is in my head. It'll be in my head all day, and that's okay, because it's one of those songs that's upbeat and gets me moving and makes me happy. So I'm just going to stamp that right in the center. And I just love how fine that font is. It's nice and crisp and clean. And I've used it with several different colors, and it looks great with just about everything. And then I love this leaf that is just like partial outlining. Now there's it's a two-step stamp set for the leaves, but I am only going to use this outline because I just like the look of it, and I think it goes with that simple font so nice. So that's all the stamping that I'm going to do. Let's get these out of the way. And that's the card insert. You know what? We can just go ahead and put this in there. And then this way we've got all of this prep done, and we can spend our time on the quilt block. Now this quilt block that we're going to do today is so versatile. I mean, and it's one of my go-tos. It's one of my favorites. And you'll be able to use it with any paper. You'll find that it's easy to handle. And I hope it's one of your favorites too. So we've got the card base. We're just going to put that away for now. We're going to put that insert away. Let's bring in, okay. So our quilt block is actually going to be made on that 2-inch square. And then there's a layer that's 2 1/4 that it's going to go on. This is the size of block that I work with when I give you the barn quilt card kits each month. These are miniature quilt blocks. And so we're going to work right on that 2-inch piece. But to help line us up, I want to make it a 4-patch, and I'm going to try and do it here with my Omni Grid. And being that we're working with even numbers, I can line this up just like if I was lining up fabric that I'm going to cut. And again, I'm working away from myself, so this could... And what I'm doing, I'm lining up my paper with this line right here and along the side, and it's 2 inches, and my ruler says I'm working with 2 inches. So I'm just going to, in pencil, draw a line, and then, gosh, this makes me want to get my fabric out. Get my rotary cutter and my fabric out. I'm going to have to stand up. Just so that I can make sure that I'm straight. And these pencil lines are just to get us in the ballpark where we know where the center of that 2-inch square is. Okay. So we've got those 2 pieces. Set that layer aside and just push that 2-inch square to the side for now. Okay. Let's bring in not our designer series paper squares, but let's bring in these 11 16th-inch squares of cardstock. These are coordinating colors. I've got 2 Early Espresso, 1 Cajun Craze, and 1 Old Olive. Why 11 16ths of an inch? Why not just round it up to 3/4? 11/16 of an inch sits one line behind 3/4 of an inch. Making these squares 3/4 of an inch, because we're going to cut them in half diagonally so that we get triangles, it makes the triangle too tall. So believe it or not, that 1/16 makes a difference. So I just backed off of the 3/4 of an inch by a 1/16, and the 11/16 works much better. So go ahead, and I'm using my snips to cut diagonally from corner to opposite corner to make some half square triangles. And I'm just going to do that on all of these little squares. And so I'm getting this square right, this corner right down here in my snips there. And then I'm just slowly cutting to make sure I'm cutting straight to that opposite corner. Okay, so there we have our triangles. Those triangles are going to create our quilt block. Okay, just wanted to make sure there wasn't any new questions. Whatever color you're using that you've got 4 of, that's what we want to start with. So I'm going to gather up my 4 squares or half square triangles of Early Espresso. I've got my grid here in front of me, and we are going to do some muscle memory. We're going to keep working in the same spot on our block every time. We're just going to rotate the base so that when we pick up that triangle and put it down, we're doing it the same way each time. Okay? So I'm going to take one of my triangles, going to put some liquid glue on the back. I want to hold it so that the longest side is to my left, the mountain is to my right. And we're going to put that right down along that pencil line. Okay, use that pencil line to help keep you straight. But that is what you want to, that's where you want that half square triangle to go. Now we're going to rotate. I'm going to go counterclockwise. And again, I am going to put this half square triangle down the exact same way in the same place I did before. So we're not trying to pick up our triangle and then we're trying to twist our wrist around and things like that to get it going in this pattern. So turn it and do the same thing until you've got all 4 done. Pick up that block, put it in front of you just to make sure. Now, because I'm fitting 4 points all together in the middle, I'm not putting them all touching each other. I'm making sure that this corner here is pushing towards the outside, but I'm not trying to cram all of them into the center, just to give them some breathing room. And now we've got our last triangle. I've got a little bit of history that I dug up on this block that once we've got it created, I'd like to share some history about it, and I'm going to try from now on to have some history to our quilt blocks, if and when I can find it. Sometimes there's a little information on a quilt block. Sometimes there's not a whole lot of information. So here we've got a little pinwheel that has started Hi, Carol from Connecticut. We got a little pinwheel started. Now we're going to bring in our 2 other colors, and we're going to go around and we're going to fill up the outside of our quilt block. And I'm going to alternate the colors. So it doesn't matter what color I start out with. I'll take one of those. And this half square triangle is going to go right beside this one that I'm going to work on in the upper right hand corner. So it's just going to go right up and lay right beside that triangle. Now I recommend not pushing your triangles down really hard until you see that they're straight, because we didn't draw any lines. We're doing this all by eye. Now when I turn that counterclockwise, I can kind of see if I'll be able to see if I'm real crooked or not. And as long as I didn't really press that down, I should be able to move it. From where I'm sitting, that doesn't look too bad. Okay? And now I'm going to pick up the other color. And I'm doing the exact same thing. So this is a good way to use some muscle memory, and you know that where that piece goes is the same place each time. Turn it. Have you ever been trying to put pieces down and you actually feel like you're standing on your head? The way you're twisting your wrist and all that. Another reason I like this pattern is because the pieces aren't too little. I can still handle these with my fingers, and I am getting a beautiful quilt block. So one more. Does anybody already know the name of this quilt block? Well, I'm putting that down there. It has several different names. But there is our quilt block. This is one of my all-time favorites because it's so quick and easy, and it looks great whether it's 4-inch block and it looks cute as a 2-inch block. I just love this. Carolyn, the flying geese are the units right here. So if we were to, let's press that down there. So let me see if I can kind of cover this up. If we were piecing this with fabric, this half square triangle with these 2 triangles on either side, I want to try and cover this up so you can see. That would be a flying geese unit. So you are right. We are using flying geese to create the makeup of this full block. Does anybody else want to take a guess? Flying geese in a circle? You could think that. So let me share. Hey, Julie. So let me share some history about this block. This is called the Dutchman's puzzle. What I found on the Dutchman's puzzle is that it was first seen in publications in the 1800s. It is also known as Dutchman's wheel, and it's known as Return of the Swallows. This mail order quilt pattern company, there was a mail order quilt pattern company called Ladies Art Company in 1895. And that is where the Dutchman's puzzle was first featured. But let's go back a little bit before that. because in 1894, the pattern appeared in the Ohio Farmer, and it was called The Wheel. Now, the Ohio Farmer is who renamed the block the Dutchman's Puzzle in 1898. The name depends on which way the geese are flying. So that's a little bit of history on that. And the person who had done the research on this block, because they were showing you a quilt pattern, Barbara Brackman, it's the Encyclopedia of Pieced Quilt Patterns. And I am going to look up this book. I would love to have this in my library, because it sounds like she's done her history on the different quilt blocks, and I think it would be a really good resource for me to have. So that is the mystery quilt block, Dutchman's Puzzle, or Return of the Swallows, or the Dutchman's Wheel, whatever you want to call it. So I am going to, you're going to put your quilt block, we're going to add it to that 2 1/4 inch square, and we're just going to frame it. We're going to frame our quilt block. So leave a nice even border all the way around. And then I want you to quilt it. I've got one already done. I used the 3D timber. So there's the quilt block. I used a 3D timber embossing folder, and I actually did the debossing on it, meaning I flipped my quilt block over. I put it in the embossing folder upside down so that it would recess the pattern into the quilt block instead of laying on top, which we call embossing when the pattern lays on top. Okay, so I'll set this aside because I'll just, oh darn it, I'm going to have to make another card. This is our quilt block. Now, let's finish the front of our card. Is there any... Kathy, you have Barbara's book? Oh, you have it on your Christmas wish list. I am going to definitely look to getting that book. Okay, so I embossed this card front using the same embossing folder as my quilt. And I flipped it over because I want the debossed side on the front. It doesn't matter. Here's where our little ruler is going to come into play. Can you see how well you can see these lines on this piece of cardstock? That's really going to help us. These rulers are done in a yellow and a black so that your lines show up on light colored fabrics or dark fabrics. Okay. Now we've got this square. Now this square can go here. This square could go here. It's going to be able to go in a number of places. The 1-inch squares that you prepared, and you didn't have to use the Stylish Shapes dies to get your squares, but I love that it adds that little bit of stitching around each square. If you don't have the die, don't worry about it. What we want to do is, I have to pay attention because some of these, I cut a square from both sides of the Designer Series paper. I want to make sure that my stitching is laying on top. That way I know they're going in the right direction. I'm going to just I'm just going to put some of these squares around my block. And I already know from doing the other samples that this time I'm going to try it right. I'm going to move my quilt block over here to the left side. And all I want to do is I want to frame my quilt block with these squares. So, and I know I need about a 1/4 inch border. In comes the ruler. So here's my yellow line. There's my 1/4 inch. This here is, I'm going to put my 1/4 inch right on the outside of my background piece. So I've got it nice and straight here. And I'm also going to align a 1/4 inch. Here's my 1/4 inch. Right here's my 1/4 inch that it can give me a good idea where it is across the top. And right now I know I'm even and I'm straight. Okay. And now I'm just going to play with a layout. And I'm going to do the side. Wait, I want this here. So this 2 1/4 inch square is going to take up that space. Meaning that, what do I want? We'll try this one down here. And then it's just a matter of laying out the 2 at the top and the bottom. I don't want that other Cajun Craze. I think I'll put this Petal Pink here. And I'm just laying those in. So those are straight on that side. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to line up my ruler to this side, because I've got 4 of these squares that are going to go right down this right side. And I just have to look at the little bird. Is that like the not the cutest? I think I'm going to put my bird right here. And I'll put my green one there. Let's put that one there and this one here. So this is just going to help you line up and get a nice even border. Linda, I got this ruler from, I ordered it online from Joann's. So that's where I got that one. And you can get them on Amazon. You can get them on the different places. Kathy, the book is $60. I'm telling you, I bet it's a good resource. It could be worth every penny. Just go on Amazon. I got this on Joann's. I was placing an order and it was on sale. So that's where I got it. So I think now that I know my layout, got my layout, I'll bring my ruler back in. I'm going to leave that ruler there. I'm going to pick up my first square. Line that up again. And that ruler is going to act like a buffer. I still have to be careful holding it down. But as long as it's... And you can see that I'm an inch right there. And then I'm going to skip a 1/4 inch. Skipped a 1/4 inch. Put it right up against that ruler. Again, I'm not pressing them down all the way yet. I'm just laying them into place. Make sure that I'm in camera here. Whoops. It slid on me a little bit. I got it though. I got it. There we go. And then my last one. So this is just to help you line things up. If you're already good at that and you can eyeball it, That is fantastic. Whoops, you want to tuck right underneath there. I moved it, darn it all. Pushing it too hard, of course. Okay, so now I've got this nice even border. Not gonna be super picky. This one, I already can't move too much. I waited too long. Okay, let's take that out. I'm gonna work over here and then I'll center those ones in the middle. Now I am not all thumbs when I do this when I'm not on camera. This went really fast last night because I wasn't nervous about doing it in front of everybody. But now I've lined up my 1/4 inch. Come down a 1/4 inch. Get up just a little bit. I'm just laying it in there. Come down here and do this bottom one. Now, if you're using directional paper, and let's say you want to change how your quilt block looks, like if I wanted, I'm doing this in portrait, but let's say I wanted to turn this and put it on my card in landscape. Just keep in mind, do you have a portrait orientation or a landscape? Because you're gonna want to put your directional paper the right way. Okay, now I'm not gluing my quilt block down because I'm going to pop it up on dimensionals. But there, I've got that, and now I'll just go ahead and I'll put those last 2 squares on. And I am just eyeballing this. Kind of using the edge of my quilt block as a guide, but also just looking at it to make sure that it's pretty even. Okay, so there's the last one. So I'm happy with my layout, so I'm going to give this all a press. And now I'm going to glue this to the front of my card base. Let's bring that back in. And just make sure you've got a nice pretty border all the way around. Give it a press. Now I like to really press my sides because it's just personal preference for me that when I see ripples, the ripples just drive me a little crazy. So I'm just going to keep rubbing my finger over that and just trying to get this card front to lay nice and flat. Okay, so now there's the front of our card. And I'm just going to put my quilt pattern here up on some dimensionals. And I'm going to use black just because I've got a dark... Oh, that one doesn't even want to come up. I don't know what's wrong with that one. You won't be able to see the dimensional. I don't know who would be picking up my card looking at it from the side, but I think there's a reason why they're darker. And get rid of those. Doris, I still haven't emptied my weeding container yet. Look at how many dimensionals I got in there. I can't bear to part with them yet. Okay. So just line this up. And there is the front of our card. The only thing that I am going to add, you can add a sentiment if you want. I want it just to stay simple, but I am going to bring in some embellishments. And I found 3 different embellishment packs that I have. I don't have them all. That I wanted to work with. And I think I'm going to go back to these metal adhesive backed textured dots. These are one of my favorites. And just bring in a metal element to my card. And I am going to, I had a pattern that I liked working with here. So I'm going to put a big one there, a little one above it, maybe. Whoops, that one doesn't want to stick. Okay. We'll try another one of your little friends. There we go. And I'm going to work down here. You know what? I want him up higher, but not that high. There you go. And let's grab another little one. And to make it an odd number and make it 5 that I used, I'm going to put one right in the center of my pinwheel. So I just jazzed it up with some embellishments. Again, you could put a small sentiment in there, maybe use like a banner type die cut. I really didn't want to cover up any of the pieces to my quilt card. Another thing that, here's the inside. Another thing that I decided to do kind of at the last minute was put some designer series paper on the back. So I'm just going to put this down really quick and then add my label. Always sign your quilt card. Just get that in the corners. Always sign your quilt card. We put labels on our quilts to let the people we love know who put the work into them. So do the same with your cards, okay? And so there is today's mystery quilt block. Hey Jasmine. Hi Darlene. And Peggy. Is Amanda on here? Hey Pam. There's Amanda. Okay, so here's one I did, and I put the quilt block over on the other side, and then I'm just moving around the squares to not have them in the same place with every card. Now keep in mind, you can put this square down here in this corner and you would have more 1-inch squares up, you know, above it and to the side. So this quilt block is taking up 4 of your 1-inch squares. So you can move this around any way you want. Now, if you wanted this to be a landscape, a top fold opening card, then of course you're going to want to pay attention to your directional patterns and make sure that they're going in the right direction. But you can do this a number of different ways. This this card here will look good whether you're using holiday designer series paper, this will work with any paper. And I think it really has a folksy quilt feel to this pattern. I could easily envision this as a quilt that is hanging on a wall for display. So have fun with it. Share the cards that you have made over in our community group, Quilt Cards and More. A PDF will load this weekend on this card. And I want to give away 3 of these. So if you want to put in the comments Dutchman's Puzzle, then I'll draw 3 names. I'll give it good 24 hours, maybe a little bit more, give people a chance to watch the replay. And I'll give away 3 of these cards. So Dutchman's Puzzle is the code word. And I really hope that you enjoyed learning a little background on the quilt block itself. I really want to get better at learning those kind of things. And again, please share your cards over in the group. We totally get inspired by each other over there. A lot of support and just a really great community over at Quilt Cards and More. Okay? So if you use one of these rulers, let me know if it's something that helped you line your pieces up better than you would, not using it. And it would be great to have a conversation over what tools are in your card making toolbox that you found around the house or have, a different purpose, but you've made them work in your craft space. I think that is a really fun topic. I think I might make a post about that over in the group. That way we can keep all those ideas contained under one post, okay? So everybody have a blessed rest of your day, and I'll be talking with you soon.